Hi everybody, it's Linda Morrison here from the AgelessBody Formula and Ageless Business. And this is we continue on our Art of Listening interview series where I've actually delighted to meet people literally across the world whom actually help people by being really, really incredible listeners, but also understanding that that is a communication skill or skill that they can flex on in every year as we get more and more devices and ways to communicate, but also going back to the actual basics, which is making sure that the person that we are listening to, actually in conversation with, is having the experience of being heard. So whether we get it or not in that particular moment, that we're actually really, really listening in and making sure that they have the experience that they are being heard. And this is quite profound and getting less and less on the ground as communications can actually get faster and faster, more slick and definitely more confusing in many ways. So today I'm really, really excited to have Karen Phillip here to talk to. And she's going to introduce herself. She's an Aussie, Australian. So we've had a lot of other people leading up to an Aussie, which is really, really, really cool. We're back to Australia. And so I'm really delighted to have Karen here. Please tell people what you do, who you are and what you do.
Okay, thanks so much, Linda. My name's Karen Phillip. As Linda said, I am a counselling hypnotherapist and an author. I have three books. The latest one is called, strangely enough, Communication Harmony. I run a counselling practice and a hypnotherapy practice, and I'm also the lead trainer in the Australian Hypnotherapy College. So we train lay people and psychologists, social workers, nurses, counsellors, the art of NLP and hypnotherapy to assist and support people change their lives for the better.
Love it. Thank you for saying that. Can you tell me, because I'm interested, but our audience is, how you came across caring for people? Because it sounds like you can do lots of different things, and I often think this, why am I doing this? You know, like a little bit of a skill set to do many things, but why am I actually doing this? Can you tell people how you arrived at this part of your career and
At
what's
this
right?
stage, yeah. I have a quite a varied background. I was in to gyms and fitness centres for many years. Owned a couple of those. So very much into. I'm a naturopathic nutritionist as well, herbal medicine, fitness leader, and so on. Got married, and ended up in a very abusive relationship. Had three amazing children. Then went into corporate work. So I was corporate manager for quite a number of years. I ended up leaving, thank goodness, the abusive relationship. So I really had to redefine myself. I had to move away. So therefore, I had to leave my job and ended up purchasing a small business, a swim school. So I became a swim teacher.
Love it. I
And
was that too.
during,
That was my first job. Mm.
yeah, it's I loved it.
I
So
know.
loved it.
I know. I was thinking about doing it for a shift now. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it.
Yes. If I had time, I would. It's just the most wonderful thing to do. And it's really great working in the water. I became a fitness leader and aquarobics teacher as well. Um, but I needed to support and help to recover from the relationship I'd escaped from. And I went to counselling for a while and was very impressed with how that allowed me to think differently and see things differently, feel differently. So I decided to study counselling and psychotherapy. So I enrolled and did the degree in that field, opened then a small business of counselling, worked there for a number of years in my own practice, and I was frustrated because I couldn't help people move as fast as I believed they had the ability to do.
Yeah.
Came across clinical hypnotherapy, NLP, thought, you know what? That sounds right. So I studied that, and that really changed not just my life, but my clients' lives. The way that you can shift people's self perception, self thought, behaviors, thinking is just astonishing.
Yeah.
Did that for quite a number of years, still do that, still have a practice with that. But I've gone on now to remarried an amazingly wonderful man. And the two of us have opened the Australian Hypnotherapy College. And now we teach other people, including counsellors, how to become clinical hypnotherapists. And in
Wonderful.
the meantime, between that, I wrote a few books, a parenting book, one on what you need to consider before you say I do. And then my latest book, which is luckily a bestseller now, it's called Communication Harmony. And that was based on NLP techniques, neuro-linguistic programming techniques. What I discovered was that all the clients that were coming in, and I was guilty of this as well, negative self-talk. We all have the most powerful negative self-talk. And when we have that negative self-talk, that's what we believe. That's what we become. So part of the reason that I wrote the book was to help change self-talk, but also find ways to dissolve conflict in relationships, because that was one of the biggest issues that people were coming in with, whether it be in their relationship with their partner, at work, with their, if they're management, with their staff, between siblings, or even adult children with parents. There was even friendship groups. There were so many issues with conflict and arguments. And I was never really an arguer. I never sort of really got into it very much. With my first marriage, I would do what I could to defend myself, but then I would just shut down because it was pointless. So I started to study a bit more and talk to more influential people in the communication field and the neuro-linguistic programming field. And that's how the book came to be. And we use it as a text actually in the college right now. And it's based on reducing and removing conflict from every conversation. So it's a way to guide the conversation and to enable the individual speaking to, as you indicated in many of your podcasts, to listen with intent. But the main thing that I teach is to be curious. Curiosity is the basis of everything. When someone says something to you, whether it's good or whether it's, say, harmful or hurtful, we react. Okay? Now, a lot of the times we react when it's hurtful or harmful to us. So we react to that. We defend ourselves. We stick up for ourselves. We're angry at them. But I say, no, what's the reason that they did that? Be curious about that. Did they get up one morning and say, oh, you know what, I'm just going to be a horror today. I'm just going to hurt everyone I come across? Probably not. There's something going on with them, something that has probably got nothing to do with you, but something going on in their life or something they've experienced that they, one, may not want to talk about, two, may not understand, or three, just feel and don't get where it's coming from. And then they react. And usually what do? We react with those that are closest to us. And they could be family members, friends, or even work colleagues. We react. So the idea is to teach the capacity and the techniques and the skills to remove that reactive behavior that we have as well, and turn that into curiosity. Oh, that sounded a bit harsh. I wonder, and we process it in our mind, I wonder what the reason is they said that. I wonder why. And even when you mentioned in many of your podcasts and your information that you provide to your listeners, that we need to listen with more than just ears to hear. We need to listen with curiosity and understanding. We need to learn the art of paraphrasing back. Do you mean this? Do you mean that? When we learn our NLP techniques, we learn that people generalize. You know, if something happens to them 2 or 3 times, we generalize, and we use the words always, never, every time, which of course is a generalization, and it's not really that, it's not that accurate. So when people come into the therapy room or even a conversation that you may be having with someone, and they go, every time I say that, that's what you do. Every time someone says that, that's what you say. And you go, every time or many times? Oh, well, maybe not every time, but a lot of the times. So a lot of the times, would that be, 80% of the time, or maybe a few times? And we sort of break it down a bit, and we do this in the therapy room, and it's like, well, they've done it a few times. So a few times in what, the last 5 years, last 2 months. And so we break it right down so people realize that
Times I've
they
noticed.
are actually generalizing.
The times I've
Yes.
noticed they do that. So can I just interject just a little bit here, just to scratch on an itch here that may be useful to people, certainly it will be for me, is that do you feel that across the years that you've actually been looking after people, is that they're actually getting less tolerant or less able to listen? And I know there's lots of different fractions of that because it depends. We can talk
Mm.
about the therapy room, and that's, one bit, and then people at the store who are trying to help you, perhaps. Because I don't have problems engaging, definitely do not have problems engaging in person. I find people of any age will engage, but I think I'm good at it, really good at it in person. I've had to really be good at it. Online in the last 12 to 13 years, really get
Mm.
good at it. Because if you met me, Karen, I'm kind of a bit quiet. So you can't turn the video on and say nothing. So I've had to be better at all that in my communication, writing books and just all the things. But do you feel over time, and especially now, since lockdowns of this,
Mm.
capital C or whatever we've had going on in the world, because I'm finding that people want things faster and they're not able to connect. It's a bit disjointed. Henceforth, why I'm
Yeah.
doing this entire series.
Mm.
You can
Yeah,
speak
I
to
think
that a
I
little
think
bit.
you just touched on that. People don't want to wait. They want instant. But you are correct. Over the last, I've been working with people in this particular area for just over 20 years. And there has been a change. There's been a change with adults. There's been a change with children, with teens. There certainly has. We are becoming more instant. We want things immediately rather than waiting like we used to maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago. We would wait for something. Now it's all instant. We have the world in the palm of our hand with our phones. We want things. We have afterpay, we have credit cards, we have all this sort of thing. So rather than years ago, we would wait for something and we would save up and we would go and
What's it
purchase it.
called? Lay-by. There was a thing called
Oh,
lay.
yes, lay by. Yes, yes. But we
Yeah,
still had to wait.
we
We would
did.
still pay that off
And
and had to wait.
yeah, 100%.
Whereas
Yeah.
now lay-by has become afterpay and
Also,
we take instant.
but that was a relationship with
Mm,
a store
yeah.
held something for you, right? That was amazing. I was thinking through that the other day, and I thought they actually held you, and you held them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
then, but
Yes.
but then they knew as a marketing thing, they knew that you keep on coming in to see what
Yes.
else they had, so you could
Yes.
add to your lay-by.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a bad marketing idea. And they
Oh, very
knew
clever.
their marketplace. They knew their marketplace. So
Yeah.
in many ways, but it worked for both because you did have to wait and you did have to earn. And you knew anyway, when, teaching swimming, you knew how much bucks you want to earn that week and all the things. But it's not a
Yes.
bad thing because discipline, I've got two athlete children, adult children, but discipline creates great adults, actually. So
Mm,
it's not a bad
mm,
thing.
mm. Absolutely. It teaches many skills. I had my daughter, she was a Paralympic athlete in 2000, Sydney 2000, a swimmer. And just to see her transition as a teen through that and then post that and then into the study and the business with the discipline that she still has, not just in her life, but even with her children. Amazing amount of self-discipline, which was taught through sport. So I'm probably the same as you, huge advocate for anyone doing sport, particularly when you're young. And it does take you more into a healthier adult life because you had to listen to your coach. You had to follow the coach's guidelines and rules because they knew more than you. Whereas these days, Yeah, not so much. Apart from the sports people listening to a coach that they may like, we don't really listen. We think that the boss is an idiot. We think our parents know nothing. We think the teachers are stupid. All of this sort of thing is happening now that never used to happen decades ago. And we find that because of a lot of things that we watch in the palm of our hand on social media. So much of the fake news, if you want to call it that, but the false information that's being fed, particularly to young people. When I say young, I mean under 30s, not just children, but under 30s, because up to the age of, for women, women's mind is not fully matured and developed until around about 25. A man's mind isn't fully mature and developed until around the age of 30. So up until that age, we are still being influenced considerably by external things. Once we both genders get over the age of 30, we're pretty much set. Our mind is fully developed and matured, and on we go. But up until that age, there are many influences in us, around us rather, and social media and so on is huge. And we also know, like TikTok, Instagram, and even to a lesser degree with young people, Facebook, but all the positive things that they see, the attributes that they believe these people have, is that's what I want. Why aren't I like that? So we're driving many of us into a degree of anxiety, and anxiety has skyrocketed in the last, it has skyrocketed in the last decade, but since COVID, it has been on steroids,
Yeah.
honestly. It
I
really
have to,
has.
happen to agree with that because I was in the most lockdown city in the world, and I've got my own take on that, of which I actually haven't shared publicly. There's a whole series of 3 years there that I can actually talk about. But I also know my young adult children left for London and Adelaide in that at the end of that year, that first kind of lockdown, once they'd finished their formidable, first degree and first finishing year 12, they left. And I've got to say, I don't blame them, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Mm.
But here we are. I want to do a part two with you if I can, Karen. I need to round this off and I don't want to do it abruptly, but I want to keep these at about 20 minutes or so.
Mm.
Can you tell people how's the best way to contact you? And we'll have in our description just maybe two main links to get in touch with you
Mm.
below. And there's so much more that we can talk about. And thank you so much for scratching on all of those really, really interesting things. And it's not a generational thing because things will actually move around, as
Yes.
we all take on new technologies. Everyone thought TV was evil once upon a time, So, we're
You
all
know that they thought books were evil as well when they first came out?
yes, yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. There you go.
Yeah.
And also, I'll speak into that. Is that censorship is not an evil thing. I mean, sorry, censorship is not a good thing. You actually just need to be educated. And this is why we have all this great stuff. So, Karen,
Oh, yeah.
some
Social media, all of that. I love it. I absolutely love the technology. I think it's amazingly good. It can be amazingly good.
yeah, correct.
Yeah,
It's
I can be
definitely
contacted
changed.
through.
As a single mom, it changed my life and my work life, which was
Oh, yeah.
amazing because I wasn't able to put my kids in childcare. I had them. I literally was the first to teach them, unless someone's choking or the house is burning down, please try not to disturb mummy while she's having a meeting, that kind of thing. But the facts is that people got real used to that, you know, 12 years later, but I was
Yeah.
already doing all of that. So I'm very thankful for it in many ways. And that's how I get to see you. And we've got more in common than we do not, as it turns out, with lots of alignments. But any final words and then the best way that someone can contact you?
Just know that everyone can be their best. Everyone can. Everyone has that ability to get up in the morning and have a new day. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow isn't here. But today, you can do your best and be your best today. And that, I think, is one of the main points in life. Live for today. Simple as that. People can contact me through my website, which is really challenging. It's called karenphillip.com.au.
It's one L, one P. Yeah, no, something like that.
Two L's.
Two L's. There you go. See, it's something. But thank you. I'm very visual and audio mainly, but I'll put that in the links below, and you can provide that to me as well. Karen, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Such a pleasure, Linda. Thank you. And thank you for what you're doing.
Thanks very much. I appreciate it.